So now we're recording.
You didn't hit start?
Coming to you live from their studio in South Florida, Twist Gaming. Featuring lead broadcaster, Matt Koza. Co-host and creative genius, Josh Perry. Co-host and interviewer extraordinaire, Ann Lazito. Co-host and marketing mogul, Aaron Murphy. With appearances from special guest, Lucy. Welcome to Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us tonight as we have our very special Twitch Plays Middara, the Unintentional Malum Act 1. It is a live playthrough campaign that we've been featuring on the show for the past couple of weeks. Middara is a game that was on Kickstarter a couple of weeks ago.
Months ago.
Kickstarter, and look, my time's all
It was also a couple of years ago.
Their Kickstarter successfully funded, and while y'all are waiting for your copies, you can definitely come and play and join in on our campaign. The way that our interactive campaigns work is that you at home play as one character. You kind of hive mind decisions and things of that nature. So at home, you are going to be playing as, and have been playing as, Nightingale. Make sure that you check out this link here.
Which is now completely out of date.
I also actually rolled a green die. It's funny. You can check out the link here to learn more about your character as well as the other three characters in the campaign and see the gear that is equipped. Right before the recorded version of this show, we did pre-stream where we sat and updated a bunch of the gear. So the gear is a little out of date. But don't, because we just went shopping. Yeah, but you can definitely check out, thank you for rolling. You can check out things like the once per encounter ability. Some of the armor is still there. Josh is working on it. He'll have it fixed by the time before we all die. The ways that y'all interact and play as Nightingale is you'll hive mind decisions through things like rolling dice, as you can see in this example right here. If you were paying attention, unlike me, mashing buttons, I put in a request to roll one green die into the chat, and you can use either !roll in chat, or Josh promises me there's a plugin with a big roll button, and I've seen it once, so apparently this is true. And that will allow you to roll a die. All the dice rolls go into a pool, and the system will pick one of the rolls. Pledge Manager closes tomorrow if anyone new wants to pre-order the base game. Excellent. Thank you very much. The other way that you make decisions is that you shout out in chat. This is a live interactive show, so we can see you in chat over there. So if we're talking and discussing about things, moves, whatever, we want y'all to be as interactive and as vocal as you feel comfortable with. Polls. The other way we do interactivity is through polls. So Josh might put up a poll and it'll give you a couple of decisions to make. You can type in the number associated with your choice or type in the phrase associated with your choice to have your vote counted. If you are a subscriber to the show, your votes count twice because it's special.
Twice is
like
nice.
That.
And can you take a picture of your gear grid real quick?
If you are not already subscribed to Twist Gaming, we would love it if you would subscribe to us. All of the money, tips, bits, cheers, and everything that goes to the show goes to the show. So we use it to upgrade equipment and to make it out to really cool conventions to meet you guys and play in person and find out more information about what's happening in
our offshore account in the Caymans.
Industry. You're not supposed to... Look, buddy, first rule of Fight Club. Do you even know where the Cayman Islands are?
In the ocean.
That's good.
Like all islands.
That's excellent. Why is Matt's chat on your phone, bro?
Because he was messaging me about the kid in his class, the really annoying one that everyone loves.
You guys are special.
Now Josh has the account I used for Anne's catsuit.
This conversation for the game, as Ice Chamber has brought up, follows throughout the week. So make sure that you join us and follow us on our various social media platforms to continue on the conversation. The Discord channel has apparently been very active for Middara. And I'm getting a cat suit, apparently. This is what happens when I don't log into Discord as much as I should. It's good. So, Joshua, without further ado, what happened last week? Give us a recap of what happened.
So we were going through the vaults. We fought the warden. We stole his key, and then we killed him because we're like, no, you're still going to die. And then we went to go get the pedestal to see the cool item to steal.
Yeah.
And it was missing, and then the big black thing that was in Nightingale popped out, and we all saw it. And then it popped back in her, and we're like, oh, shit.
Do you feel good about yourself?
What?
Continue.
So we went to Nightingale's father's study to go figure out what this was. And me, being Rook, the big smart ass with all the knowledge, found the book that says, yeah, she's kind of screwed, but there were these people that had these cool magic powers that used them as familiars, so maybe we can find something there. So we decided to go to Remi's uncle to find out information about these magic people.
Remi's uncle?
Father.
Remi's dad. So
who is like major mobster.
No enemy
So we're
left
like
left.
still in the story. Actually, I might have read past. I think. Yeah, we're just going to leave the Alania. Is where we're at.
Yeah. Okay. So last time we were talking a little bit of story, and we are back in the story. So I get to read, and you get to update, because we're working on our strengths right now, Josh. Showcasing our strengths. Nightingale pulled her hood a little lower. Her attempt at anonymity was somewhat spoiled by her horns, which poked from holes in the top of the hood. Her family wasn't the only one that had been granted horns by the advancement, but they were some of the most publicly known in Alenia. The sooner they were out of the city, the happier she would be. Rook, too, was concealed in a traveling cloak, so much as someone his size could be hidden. That's you.
Oh, sorry. There's Remi and Zeke just off the road there,
he said. Nightingale followed his gesture out the city gates and into the thick forest just outside the city. Zeke was harder to spot, but Remi hadn't even bothered to hide. The white feathers under her wings almost glowed in the rising moon, making her impossible to miss. You think the guards will give us trouble? She kept her voice at a harsh whisper.
Only if they notice you. Most probably served at least a little time in the castle, so they could recognize you. Just keep your head down, and I'll do the talking.
Right. Nightingale followed behind Rook, putting him between herself and the guards as best she could. While it was possible that Yol might forget about her completely, and wouldn't even notice she was gone, Nightingale figured that it was just as likely that her parasite would spontaneously get bored of her and leave Middara behind. She wouldn't bank on either one. The city gates were open tonight, as they always were when the city was at peace. Even so, there were very little traffic on the road. Just now. The constant stream of trade carts and carriages ended when the sun went down, as most sensible traders knew the perils of the night travel. A pair of armed soldiers emerged from the guardhouse as they approached. Their armor clinked beneath city colors. Both had heavy crossbows, though only one actually carried it.
It's you.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a female guard. It's you. Because it says it later that the guard's female.
A little late to be leaving the city, isn't it? Nightingale stood still on Rook's other side, only listening to the female officer. Fair enough. Her voice is suspicious, though heavily laced with boredom. Rook nodded.
Not later than we've traveled before. The forest has no dangers my sister and I can't handle.
Nightingale kept her eyes down as Rook recited the lies they had practiced. That's so cute. If Yol wanted to come looking for them, they didn't want to leave an easy trail for him to follow. Indeed. The officer walked around past Rook, looking Nightingale up and down. Nightingale didn't recognize the officer. She'd undergone some striking features during her advancement that wouldn't have easily been forgotten. Mercifully, though, the officer didn't seem to recognize her either. You're both armed? And she nudged at the heavy packs as they wore, apparently well prepared. She stopped right in front of Nightingale, watching her face as she asked, There aren't stolen goods in those packs you're wearing, are there? Nightingale didn't flinch. While she supposed that technically they had borrowed some of their camping supplies from her father's stockpile, she had no doubt he would have happily allowed her to take them if he'd been there to ask.
No, ma'am.
Rook answered, his voice level.
Has there been a problem with theft in the city lately?
She stared a moment longer into Nightingale's face, then finally turned away. No, she sounded almost reluctant. Thanks to the vigilance of the constabulary? She lifted a clipboard that had been hanging from her belt, proffering it toward Rook. I'm going to need you both to sign this. You'll see there's a place for your destination and when you expect to return.
We understand.
Rook took the clipboard, scribbling down their lie. He passed it to her, and Nightingale signed with a fake name. The best part of living in a world without Earth's technology was the fact that there would be no database to search. The guard took her clipboard back, glanced at their responses, then stepped out of the way. Safe travel. She waved, and the other guard turned to walk away. Don't get into trouble. The Alenia City Watch doesn't rescue lost tourists. Rook waved respectfully.
We won't. Thank you.
They hurried through the open gate before the guards decided to change their minds. Zeke and Remi waved at them from beyond the city gates. The two had left before them to make their departure less suspicious.
We were worried that they weren't going to let you out.
Zeke said as he lit a fresh cigarette and then coughed because cigarettes cause cancer. Rook shrugged.
Either they didn't recognize us or they aren't looking for night yet. I think it's a good thing that we didn't wait to leave, even if it doesn't mean we have to walk in the dark. Even if it does mean we have to walk in the dark.
Remi saluted back toward the guardhouse. See you later, Alenia. So, what is this Romstead like exactly? Nightingale's voice sounded from ahead of them, bubbling with new energy after a night's rest. Despite how little experience they all had with Middara and wilderness, they'd made most of the way to Romstead without incident. Despite her condition, Nightingale almost always stayed out in front, even when that meant having to take course corrections from Remi. Remi didn't mind. She walked with her wings out.
Follow.
Thank you! I caught me falling out of the corner of my eye. Nightingale almost stayed out in front. He didn't mind. She walked with her wings out, spread just far enough to catch the breeze, constantly blowing off the ocean. It was a nice reminder of the time she'd spent learning to fly, just after arriving in Middara. Remi opened her mouth to answer, but Rook spoke before she could. Yeah, welcome to my life.
One of the smallest cities in the kingdom, according to the map. Think of a fish market. The picture it a little bigger. That's Remstead.
Remi choked back a laugh quite unsuccessfully. Her friends all turned, staring at her. I think your information might be a little out of date, Rook, but thank you for mansplaining to me about where I grew up.
I knew you were going to enjoy this.
Remi glanced once at the trail ahead of them.
Remi what?
Remi glanced once at the trail ahead of them.
Okay.
Stop laughing. Searching for trail markers. She couldn't see any, but she could hear the sound of distant waves, a sure sign they were close. Romstead hasn't been like that since I got to Middara. She swung her arms and wings at the same time exaggeratedly. It's so alive. Ships are always coming in, so there's always somebody new to talk to, way more chaotic than Alenia, but that just means there's more to do.
Oh?
Rook shrugged.
Well, you know, your family lives there, right?
Yeah. Remi turned away from her friends, speeding up a little. I spent my first year of Middara here before going off to the Institute. When I arrived to Middara, I barely missed the deadline for the new year and got time to explore the place before being shipped off. I haven't been keeping in touch with my dad as much as I probably should, but I'm sure he'll be happy to see me. As they reached the edge of a sloping cliffside, the city came into view. Romstead occupied a massive deposit of pale granite jutting out over the ocean for a length of several miles. The city had been carved straight from the rock, thousands of little buildings all vying for space overlooking the sea. The city was so thick with structures that Remi could hardly even see the ocean. Wide pavilions of garish cloth covered switchback walkways between successive levels, all the way down to the docks. Romstead wasn't walled and gated like Alenia, so they encountered no guardhouses or inspections as they neared. Instead, They found themselves swallowed by sprawling slums of old wooden homes set back from the wealthier stone districts. Nor were the merchants and peddlers restricted to a market district as they were in Alenia. No sooner had they made their way inside than they were accosted with the shouts of peddlers and street performers. It reminds me of New Orleans. Remi found herself smiling as they walked past street vendors, hawking fresh fish, pearls, and exotic wares from Middara's distant shores. Whoa, it's like Pike Place, Nightingale beamed, remembering the city she was from on Earth. That's in Washington, I think.
Yeah, it's in Seattle.
I think it's where Starbucks is.
That's where Starbucks was founded, yes. I've been there.
She watched a man toss a fish toward another merchant and clapped. So cool. Come on, we have a long way to walk still. Remi pulled at Get it? Star Wars? Yeah. Okay, good. Her wrist, and Nightingale hesitantly let herself get pulled away from all strange street performers and exotic foods. They were dragging their feet a little by the time they made it to the edge of the highest level of the city and reached the thick stone balcony overlooking the sea. Where's your house? Nightingale glanced down the switchbacks, where it appeared the houses grew more modest the further down one looked. Only the finest, largest mansions were up here, where there was both safety from storms and a perfect view. Remi gestured to one side, to a wide boulevard lined by towering mansions. This way, we're almost there.
Thank God.
Zeke's voice was low and a little annoyed.
You think your father keeps cigarettes? I smoked my last one an hour ago.
He's a chain smoker. Remi shook her head. I doubt it. I don't think I ever saw anyone smoke, even the staff. Rook chuckled.
I think you got a problem. In a few hours, it'll be your problem, too.
Yeah, that's you and Matt. Zeke smiled as he said it, but his expression was deadly serious. Yeah, it's you and Matt. Deadly serious. Huh. The street leading to her home was far less crowded than the market had been. What few people they passed were all well dressed in bright linen and silk instead of rough cloth and armor. Many had sturdy-looking mercenaries escorting them, and an even higher mark of privilege than all the fine clothing. Remi stopped at the finest house on the street. This is the place. Her friends gaped, and Remi could hardly blame them. The mansion was built in the Moorish style, though the many arches and fine stone had also been built thick enough to prevent easy entry. Even the path leading to the door was elegant, with a bright geometric mosaic and dozens of exotic plants. You live here? Nightingale asked. Don't take this the wrong way or anything, Remi, but was it wrong of her to feel a little smug to see that look on Princess Nightingale's face? Probably. While the place wasn't as grand as Balthazar's castle, it made the Zhang manor that Zeke and Nightingale had been living in look like a one-bedroom apartment. I know I'm not royalty or anything. Remi started walking again, squaring her shoulders for an uncomfortable reunion. But my father's an important merchant.
You must be a skilled capitalist if you live like this.
Rook said.
You've got me all worried about what you'll think when you come to see my tiny farm, though I guess it was a great idea coming here regardless. We'll get night cured in no time.
Yeah. Remi stopped in front of the massive oak door. She reached for the handle. You sure your father will be okay with all of us staying here? Nightingale asked. We could probably find an inn or something for the night, come back in the morning. Nah, it'll be fine. What are friends for, right? She knocked several times on her own door for her house, and the hollow sound reverberated through the house beyond.
When you have housekeepers, you knock.
Why?
So they can serve you.
You would know this.
Yep.
Footsteps sounded on the other side, and several heavy bolts rattled as they were unlocked. The door slid open, revealing a tall, thin woman in the red and black Moretti colors. Hola, Mia. Long time no see. Oh, okay, go ahead. Mia. Remi? A skeptical expression turned to a grin, and she bowed. Your father will be delighted to hear you're back. Mia didn't fit the bill as a steward. Instead of a face lined with wrinkles or hands covered with the calluses from hard work, she was tall and beautiful with a short, tight dress that had pieces of cloth that fell in an elegant pattern down to her boots. Remi's shoulders relaxed, her wings slipping into a more comfortable folded position behind her. Maybe this wasn't going to be as hard as she'd thought. I was hoping to speak with him right away. Is he home? Mia reached up, scratching idly at the precise bun she was wearing. He's in a meeting now. I'm sure he would be happy to interrupt it and visit with you, though. That would be wonderful. Mia opened the door the rest of the way and led them inside. Where the outside only hinted at extravagance, the interior had been furnished without restraint. A wide courtyard of pools and fountains was in the center of the house, each glittering with semi-precious stones. Fine artistic pieces were displayed along the halls on plinths of exotic woods. They walked the lengths of the house until Mia stopped beside a door almost as thick as the front. Just give me a minute. I'm sure your father will drop whatever he's doing to meet with you and your... Her eyes flicked briefly to Nightingale, then back. Friends. She vanished inside the door, snapping it shut behind her.
Does your father's servants all dress so... inviting?
Inviting? Remi cocked an eyebrow. I've never noticed. But yeah, the girls have the same outfit, and she's not a servant. More of a steward, really?
Never noticed? Wow, okay.
Zeke patted at his pockets and then dropped his arms.
I really need a smoke.
Not in here, you don't. Remi snapped. Zeke sighed and the door opened again. Mia stepped out, followed by a pair of men so large they scarcely fit out the door. Remi didn't know them by name, but she could easily recognize her father's mercenaries for what they were. She looked back, trying to be reassuring as her friends stared. Remi felt relieved as the mercenaries hurried away down the hall, taking their armor and enchanted-looking weapons with them. Go on in, Mia nodded respectfully to the door. He's waiting. Thank you, Mia. Remi strode past the steward into her father's open study, followed closely by her friends. Compared to the huge windows and flowing light in the rest of the house, her father's study was gloomy. She had to pause for a second to let her eyes adjust. The fire crackled against one wall, though metal shutters covered much of it and only let through a few flickers of the light. Soft carpet muffled their steps, leading the way to a ring of comfortable-looking leather sofas. Her father was waiting in an armchair, arms folded, annoyance turned to joy as he looked up and met her eyes.
Remi!
Oh,
I
you
had
go.
no idea you returned.
It's not excited enough to see me. It was easy to see why there were so many bad rumors about Malik Moretti. That's a Gweed name if I ever heard it. Even sitting
Give
down,
you an offer you cannot refuse.
Even sitting down, he looked imposing. A solid figure with wickedly curved purple horns and serrated spikes poking out from his armored shoulders. His eyes were the hardest part to get used to. Red and always faintly glowing. He's also Italian, so he's like 3 feet tall and hairy. Remi wasn't...
Picture of him on the next page.
I really hope he's 3 feet tall and hairy. I really do.
He's got a lot of fur on.
Yeah, Remi wasn't intimidated anymore, and she let only her excitement show. Just got back. I came straight home. Like a good girl. Her father released her after another few moments, only then noticing she wasn't alone.
You brought friends. From the Institute, I assume?
She nodded. We took the mass together. I never could have passed without their help.
And on behalf of the Moretti family, you have my gratitude.
You're missing... On behalf of the Moretti family.
On behalf of the Moretti
There we go.
family, you're missing... You have my gratitude.
He said, though he was no longer looking at her. Malik seemed to be staring at Zeke and Nightingale.
Please, sit down. I'll have Mia bring refreshments so we can talk.
We could talk. A few minutes later, and they were all sitting and enjoying glasses of chilled juice.
So you graduated then. 2 years of hard work has paid off.
At last. Remi nodded. A few nights ago.
That's fantastic.
I'm done. Malik touched her on the shoulder, grinning.
Sorry I couldn't attend the ceremony at Eladia myself.
He looked sidelong at Nightingale, quick enough that Remi almost missed it.
I'll have to find you an appropriate gift to commemorate the occasion.
Get a what?
Just keep going.
I'm grateful, but she took a deep breath. What I really need is information. See, my friend Nightingale here got into some trouble, and we're looking for information about Theodosian magic. If you could direct us to someone who could use the magic, that'd be great, but even if all you had were a book or an acquaintance, who could tell us about it, that would be helpful too. Malik's expression darkened as he stared openly at Nightingale.
Princess Nightingale arson?
Nightingale seemed confused by Malik's tone. Yes, sir?
Did the king send you?
He rose suddenly from his chair, stepping between Nightingale and the shelf of ledgers.
I assure you, I've been obeying his injunctions in every respect. You find a royal inquiry to be an absolute waste of our time. You're right there.
Do you know what they caught mobsters on?
Activated.
I'm done.
Stop muting yourself.
I'm dead. Oh. Okay. Remi cleared her throat loudly, rising too. Nightingale's my friend. She hasn't come for any sort of inquiry. I'm sure she knows as little about what you're talking about as I do. Malik seemed to relax.
Is this true, princess?
Nightingale grinned widely. The king doesn't tell me shit, Mr. Moretti. We just came because Remi said you might be able to help.
I see.
In tears. He's definitely 3 feet tall. He sat back down, then looked toward Nightingale with a smile.
Not very ladylike, are you? I imagine your father wouldn't be pleased with you using that kind of language.
Father used to tell me that if you used curse words, it meant you were not intelligent enough to use other vocabulary. Nightingale just shrugged and took another sip from the juice she'd been given.
Drink your juice box,
Then Malik
little kid.
continued with a laugh.
Please, excuse me then. So you need help finding information about Theodorian magic, was it?
Where do you see the R in that word? Yeah, Remi said. That won't be too hard, will it? Malik looked thoughtfully.
I have an informant who may have what you need, but it'll take time. A few days at least.
That shouldn't be a problem. Remi turned towards the single small window that faced the central courtyard. Unlike many of the others, this one was made of stained glass, protecting the privacy of those inside while still permitting a little light in. We've got enough room for my friends, right? Malik thought for a moment and then sighed.
I'm sorry, Remi, but that won't be possible.
That's rude. He looked past her again, directly at Nightingale.
You've been here too long already. If news that the Princess of Elenia slept under my roof even reached Balthazar, it would be trouble for all of us. Balthazar already despised me more than you all know, and he would see this as a personal affront.
He turned the other way, toward where Zeke slouched in another of the comfortable armchairs.
You're Zeke John, right? I'm sure your cousin would be happy to accommodate you while you're in the city. Grace?
Zeke said with a start.
We'll see. In either case, thanks for your time.
They rose, leaving half-eaten snacks where they'd been sitting. Remi glared back at her father in frustration. At least send us a letter or whatever when you figure out something about Theodosian.
Of course.
Malik hugged his daughter and talked to her in private briefly before seeing the group off.
I want to put it on record, Rook finished his snacks. They were not half-eaten. I don't know about the rest of everyone, but Rook's a big boy. He needs to eat.
Eat his food. He needs his Wheaties.
We had juice boxes and cheese sticks, probably. I mean, it was snacks.
I like how you immediately assumed that it was cheese sticks.
What else do you get with juice boxes when you're little kids? You eat juice box and cheese sticks.
That's what you eat now.
Yeah, we're grown up.
You start.
Your father looks like a supervillain.
Damn skipping. Zeke said as they walked back down through the streets of Romstead.
I mean, I'm not saying he is a villain. Just saying that the advancement dealt him a perfect hand.
I got my wings and innocent looks from my mom, Remi said, flapping her wings in Zeke's face playfully. Zeke batted at them, but it was no good.
I really, really need a smoke. Let's find somewhere to go quickly.
Sorry we couldn't stay at my place, Remi muttered sheepishly. Nightingale patted her on the back. It's no big deal. Your father has a nice place, but we'd probably have been cooped up in there until he got the information we needed anyway. Maybe this way we can spend a few days enjoying the city first. They had to ask for direction to Grace's manor every few streets, but it didn't matter really. Nightingale enjoyed talking to so many different people. The advancement didn't always cause noticeable changes to those brought to Middara, but it was fascinating to see the different ways people changed when it did. She spoke to a man with skin like a chameleon, a girl with dragonfly wings, and saw others who were even stranger. After a few blocks, Nightingale stopped, noticing Zeke had fallen out of step with them. She hurried over, watching as he exchanged a few coins for a few fresh packs of cigarettes, because he's an
I
addict.
feel like Zeke should have like a special status, like ability card. Say chain smoker, lose 2 gold every time you visit a town.
Makes sense. That makes sense. He grinned as he pulled out one of the packs, stuffing the rest away.
Sorry, I was already getting a headache.
Think you should give him up? Nightingale mused. He shrugged as he lit it.
Nah.
Nightingale sniffed at the burning tobacco in the air and grimaced. I wish you smoked something that smelled good at least. Zeke just shrugged again. I actually like the smell. No, I don't. Hey, Zeke, your cousin Grace, is she cool? I'm under the impression she runs the town as the appointed duchess, Remi said. He drew a long drag from the cigarette, sighing with relief.
She was supposedly present when I first came to Middara. Honestly, I don't remember seeing her. I have heard that she's supposed to be a lot like her father, Yon, but I guess she has some sort of beef with Balthazar or Keza or someone. I don't really know the specifics. She was assigned here before I came to Middara, so I got to skip the drama.
Nightingale hurried forward a few steps, catching up with Rook and Remi and stopping them on the sidewalk with a held-up hand. It was already getting late, and the setting sun was turning the ocean a shimmering orange color behind them. The activity in the streets wasn't nearly what it had been when they first arrived. Listen, guys, I don't think we should stay with Zeke's cousin. Nightingale grinned.
Why not?
Rook asked, keeping a watchful eye on the crowd around him. Grace is Romsted's duchess. If we stay there, then 2 things are going to happen. Okay? First, it makes this visit official. My brother will find out we're here faster than he would have already. Second, if she's like any other politician, she'll want to use our visit somehow. Zeke nodded.
Probably. What else can we do, though?
An inn? Nightingale didn't have far to look, since seeing the sign had been what inspired the thought in the first place. She pointed across the street to a large wooden sign. It said, Podrick's Dragon Arms. Cute. And included the image of a crude metal gun. How about, instead of making ourselves a royal visit, we act like regular people and use an inn? Rook squinted at the sign.
Beds, tats, gorgs, and guns.
Try
At least
again.
We don't have what?
Try again.
Grogs?
Grog, but yes.
Grogs and guns.
Singular.
Grog and guns.
There we go.
At least we won't have to go far if we need anything. I'm in.
Zeke said. I like how you talk to yourself and make decisions. Sounds like they're having fun in there. Remi leaned in and Nightingale paused to listen. Sure enough, she could hear many voices raised in an off-color song. The interior was everything Nightingale had hoped for and more. Almost every table was packed with happy, tipsy people. Smoke filled the air in multicolored clouds, some of which buzzed with their own faint magical auras. Cards and gambling filled most of the room, while another slightly cleaner corner of the room was busy with a tattoo artist hard at work on a reclining guest. On one end of the room, there was a sturdy wooden counter with weapons of various kinds hanging just behind it. A barmaid with dark skin made her way through the crowd with a tray of drinks, dodging between patrons with poise as she deposited their orders. We're at the Red Dragon Inn. A muscular man reclined in a crate by the counter, tinkering with a fine flintlock pistol. He also wore intricate glasses and one of the fullest russet beards Nightingale had ever seen. "Hey!" Nightingale blurted, causing the man to jerk so violently that he nearly fell off the side of his crate.
What the hell?
The man shouted. Realizing she must have startled him, Nightingale lowered her voice. We're looking for the proprietor. Is Podrick here? He nodded.
That's me.
He paused with an incredulous look, then, after a few moments, he continued.
You here for boards or booze?
Both! 2 rooms and enough drinks to help us relax after a long journey.
Sure things. Sure thing. I think we got a few vacancies left.
It was hard to be sure, but that suspicion on his face, maybe Podrick just wasn't very friendly.
It's 2 gold pieces a night. Take it or leave it.
Rude. Podrick huffed. His voice was deep and had a gravel texture to it. Nightingale had no idea if that was a lot of gold for a room, but Podrick made it sound like she was getting screwed. She was about to bring it up when Remi popped in next to her. I'll get it. Remi leaned over and dropped a small handful of coins into Podrick's hand. I'd rather have the money to buy new equipment. Nightingale gave her a look. Where did that come from? Daddy gave me some spending cash before he left, Remi said, smiling. Nightingale wasn't sure why Malik got a bad rap. He was pretty alright if he was paying for her booze. She searched for an open space for them all, but could only find a few seats at the bar. If we're going to be proper adventurers, we should at least have a few drinks.
I'll pass.
Lame. Zeke took one of the keys from Remi. Lame. Shouldering his pack towards the stairs.
Had enough venturing for one day. Thanks. Give Rook mine. He'll probably won't even notice.
This is backwards. Thanks, Rook said, exasperated.
Let's get the only guy that seems to be paying attention to our surroundings drunk. Although it might be nice to take the edge off.
Oh, that sounds about right. Nightingale glared at Zeke's retreating back, but didn't try to argue. Instead, she turned to the others. You guys want to have a drinking contest? Halfway through Nightingale's first ale, and she was asleep, because she is a lightweight. Remi watched with more than a little amusement. She's a real lightweight, huh? Remi perched beside Rook on one of the rickety bar stools. After an hour or so, the tavern began to empty. Its patrons heading up to their beds or out to later venues.
It's not just her.
Rook said. There was more than a little slur to his words.
Exhaustion doesn't mix with alcohol.
Yeah, sure does. Definitely does. He glanced once around the inn and mostly empty tables.
I think I'm done.
Lame. He rose, swaying for a moment.
I think I'll take night up too. You think you'll be all right down here?
Yeah. Remi pulled her latest mug closer to her, glaring defiantly at its contents. I think I'll have one more and go to bed.
Chat said we can't drink, but we can melt your face. All right.
Rook gently shook Nightingale awake, and the two made their way upstairs in a stupor. Time passed. Remi wasn't really sure how much, though. She exchanged her empty mug for a full one and watched the bar empty in the mirror behind the counter. Eventually, the hearth had burned down, and all the other tables were empty. She sat alone at the bar with a mug she hadn't touched in at least an hour. This is terribly sad.
You look troubled.
It was the inn's proprietor, Podrick, with a mug of his own. He took the seat beside her unceremoniously, taking a long sip as he did. You could say that. Remi had run out of restraint 2 or 3 drinks back. I don't think I'd be sleeping in an inn tonight,
Why is that?
Podrick asked as he took another swig. My dad? I know he's not the nicest person in Middara, but he's always been good to me. It's the first time I've seen him in 2 years, and he won't even give my friends a place to stay. Podrick nodded with the knowing confidence of a bartender.
It probably has something to do with your friends. I never heard of a Moradi anywhere near an arson, unless you were locked in irons, of course.
Remi looked up, but the man's colored glasses were starting to blur into the wall behind him. You know me? She shifted uneasily in her seat.
Malik might not officially own Ramstead, but he owns Ramstead.
He raised his glass towards the nearby window with his mug, then took another long sip.
Sure it's cool to spend time with the princess? I doubt your parents are any happier than hers about the whole thing.
Nah, it's cool. Remi got to her feet, tossing her pack back onto her shoulders. She had to try 3 times before she got it.
You.
And not what I'm drinking. We graduated together. Institute. Balthazar was at the graduation even. Remi set her mug down, not even noticing that she'd sloshed a portion of it onto the floor. I think I should sleep. Long day tomorrow. Podrick didn't move from the stool.
Go slow. Don't puke, or I'll make you clean it up.
Yeah. Remi threw a hand as if she was knocking his words out of his air. I'll be fine. Plus, you couldn't make me clean it up. My dad owns the city, remember? I'll send his goons after you. She gave him a toothy grin and a lazy wink. Then she lifted her finger up in the shape of a gun. Pew pew! She slurred and added fake recoil to her fingers. Remi stumbled away, making her way upstairs. She's such a mess. Podrick watched her leave, frowning at her comment. She's such a schmuck. Despite last night's act, Rook was neither drunk nor particularly tired. The advancement had granted him an incredible fortitude. So when he heard the sound of breaking glass and shouting through the floor, he was up and awake almost instantly. He hefted his weapon and kicked Zeke's cot with one foot. Zeke woke on the 3rd kick. and spasmed, shoving violently at the empty air. He looked as though he were about to shout at Rook for waking him, until he heard screaming. Rook couldn't make out the words, though the hostility was plain enough. They snuck out into the hall, Rook moving far quieter than anyone his size should be able to. Nightingale was already waiting there, crouching by the stairs with a weapon in hand. Once they were out and onto the landing, voices from downstairs carried clearly. "Damn it, Podrick! I thought you cared about the city. About me!" Rook didn't recognize her voice, though her fury was impossible to miss. Nightingale feigned a tactical SWAT hand movement that made no sense to Rook, and then crawled closer to the stairs. Rook simply nodded and followed her. Okay. With Zeke behind him. Together they snuck closer, Nightingale at the lead as they tried to get a better view.
Adieu, Aisling.
Ashling. Podrick said, sounding more than a little defensive.
Why do you think I've been helping you all this time? You never would have learned where that damn artifact was if I hadn't.
Then why are you bailing on me? The girl responded, something heavy smashed with a sound of splintering wood. You think I'm safer doing this on my own? By then, Rook had made it far enough down the stairs that he could glance over the banister at the speakers. Podrick had his back to the bar, surrounded by debris. Broken bottles, a shattered chair, and an ocean of playing cards made the floor by his boots almost disappear. The woman facing Podrick was nearly as tall as Podrick himself, with long, red pigtails, and her name was Pippi Longstockings, and clothes all of tight white fabric. She had a bandage over one eye, and the other was wild with frenzied emotion.
Aisling, listen.
Podrick had his hands in front of him defensively, and wasn't reaching for a weapon.
There's a better way, but if we resort to the same techniques...
A board squeaked under Nightingale's feet, and she swore under her breath. Ashling's head snapped at the sound. Who the hell are you? She sounded even angrier than she had been a moment earlier. You know what? I don't care! She kicked at the nearest table leg so sharply that it splintered, sending the whole thing crashing down in front of her. Forget it, Podrick. You've obviously got your hands full with the inn or whatever. If you ever grow a goddamn backbone, you know where to find me.
Oh, Aisling, wait, I didn't highlight on mine. I missed
Podrick called after her. She ignored him, vanishing out the door and into the early morning light. They made their way down into the ground floor, a mixture of shame and curiosity on their faces. Instead of screaming at them, Podrick got a broom from behind the counter and started sweeping up broken glass.
Hey, so... You guys hear all that?
Yeah, Nightingale said, now fully awake. Pretty much. Podrick leaned back on the counter, sighing deeply.
Look, you guys keep your mouth shut, and you can stay tomorrow for free.
Keep our mouths shut about what? Remi's voice came from the stairs, sounding strained. She stumbled out, hands rubbing gently at her temples because she's got a migraine and they suck. She didn't actually wait for an answer. Anybody got an aspirin?
I've got black coffee.
That's disgusting. Podrick ran one hand through his beard, glancing behind the counter and into the kitchen.
Well, I had black coffee. I could put another pot on, though. Just let me get this mess cleaned up before anyone else wakes up.
Nightingale reached out, touching Podrick's arm. Hey, Podrick. It's a deal. We won't tell anyone.
Good.
He relaxed visibly, picking up the broom again.
Thanks.
After a few moments, Zeke approached, waving a piece of paper in the air.
No way!
He said with a dumbfounded look.
Check this out, guys.
The piece of paper in his hand contained a picture of a grotesque-looking animate. Ew. Nightingale snatched it out of his hand and held it up. Ha! We've seen this guy before. Actually fought him. Hey, is this a reward poster? Does this mean we get a reward if we killed him? Podrick snatched it out her hand and looked.
You guys killed a warden?
Damn, Skippy did. Does the party have the story flag bouncer bounced checked? The answer to that question, Joshua, is yes. And it also says that I need to go and get the magic decoder ring and turn to page 80 because I cannot read it on here. Magic decoder ring.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can we talk about how...
Video Game Warrior says, man, Nightingale sucks at stealth.
Yeah. I want to look at this. He looks like Spencer.
He looks like Spencer.
Oh, come on, Glare.
It's so glary.
I know.
Put on board cam.
He looks like Spencer.
Okay.
Project is Spencer confirmed. Okay. Do we have Bouncer bounced? Yes, we do. Okay. Dakota ring. Yes. Podrick looked impressed. If the party could kill such a horrible monster, they must be more experienced than he thought. Each party member gains 1 XP, and Joshua is found out to be a cheater. Unfortunately, the one who posted the reward was killed months ago. There's probably no chance for a reward. Lame.
But we got an XP.
But we got an XP. So that's good. So give me 3 seconds, and I will up to that. It was strange that Podrick was helping them as much as he was, but his inn offered a wide selection of impressive gear, and there really wasn't any reason not to shop before departing.
Boom, free XP.
7.
So with that XP, both
3.
Anne and Matt for Zeke bought a level 2 skill because they
Yes.
hit 7 XP.
So now I take this to 0, right? Yeah.
Yep. And up the max XP the total XP that we got on the top.
1, 2, 3, 4. So 16.
No, it should be. What's the number it says there?
12.
Should go to 13. How much XP we've got overall?
Got it. Okay. Continue to story round Romstead Exploration, page 81. Okay. I'm going to put this up on board cam. So if you were with us before, during our pre-stream, I'm going to shove her over just a minute. If you were with us before during pre-stream, then you know that we did a little bit of digging around for this shopping phase of the show. So we went through some items. What is it? That's the curtain.
It's current behind you.
Other way. Can't really see that. So this is the Romstead Exploration story phase. I really wish that would show better to where I could read from here, because that would be really... Hey now. So shop and train, basically at this part of the game, you go through the items that are available, so for purchase with the gold that we've gotten throughout the game. And explore is the next important thing. So we did talk about the items. Y'all voted either through Discord or through the pre-stream chat. So we were talking about how did you update the gear?
It's
okay.
updated.
So now if you go over to the gear link, you're going to be able to see all of the new gear. You guys purchased 3 new items. You purchased the Ring of Blood, which was 40 gold. So now when you exhaust this card, you deal when you deal damage to an opponent, you get to heal for 2 points. So that's a once around kind of thing. Only 1 Ring of Blood may be used per action. So if you had purchased more than 1 Ring of Blood, you would only be able to use 1 per action. You also purchased the Hemlock and Sear. I might be mispronouncing that. Which is going to passively increase your sphere of influence by +2. This effect cannot stack. So this increases your sphere of influence from 4 to 6 all the time. And the last item that you purchased was the Apocryphal Antiquity. So you had a Wand of Missiles, and you replaced that Wand of Missiles with this Apocryphal Antiquity, which is a tome. It's going to give you an orange cast. Why is it orange? Oh, that was an orange melee die. It gives you a casting upgrade to a teal die, which is pretty powerful. If you decide to flip this card, which is more difficult to unflip, after resolving a spell you cast, if that spell is still available to use, you can cast the same spell again. And if you choose to exhaust the tome, when you deal magic damage to an opponent, heal 1. Only 1 Apocryphal Antiquity may be used per action. The reason that y'all took a couple of items that give you heal 1 is because they synergize really well with the Gore Shot spell that you have. It was your first spell. With the Gore Shot spell, you can choose to take irreducible damage to deal additional magic damage equal to your highest level Crur discipline. You see that this card is red here. This is in the skill tree of Crur. The highest level of Crur discipline spell that you have right now is Organic Liquefy, which is a level 2 spell. So each time you decide to take irreducible damage, you do 2 additional points of damage, and then you can regain it through some of the items that you have purchased. So that kind of goes through that. So that leaves, you can click on the link to see, but that leaves your other wand. We still have the Wand of Hindsight. The casting upgrade of orange is irrelevant now that you have the casting upgrade of teal, which is a better option, and you still have the 1 free reroll for you or an ally within your sphere of influence, which is now 6 instead of 4. Bam! Cool. So now that we are in town, we did all of the shopping, we got the new items.
So, and what did you trained and
Sure.
you got some new items. What did you do?
So if
You
we
wanna show off the new
got
skill you got?
an extra XP now, we have 3, and we can get another ability, right? So now you do have 3 XP. You could choose to get a level 1 skill in a different skill tree other than Crur. The other option is you can bank those 3 points, and then save up for a more expensive spell in the Crur skill tree. And that is totally up to you guys. So I got the XP. So Josh was saying Zeke and I both leveled up. I took Gygas Grip as an additional skill for myself. This is part of the Martial skill tree. This has cost me my 7 XP points. It is a passive ability. So when you do not have a ranged weapon equipped other than a shield, I may equip 2 two-handed weapons as if they were one-handed weapons. I choose 2 dice from the equipped weapons to form the combat dice pool. If one of the weapons that I've equipped, sounds like another Discord discussion, yeah. If one of the weapons requires you to empower, I must still empower. The reason that I took that, because Josh told me to, no, just kidding. Josh, yeah. I'm happy that he made me look, is because I have upgraded my halberd. I upgraded my halberd to the Romstead Guard's pole axe, which is essentially an upgraded version of the halberd that I did have. It had 2 teal die. I kept my passive ability for reach 2, so enemies provoke break attack on reach 2. And with this, I can exhaust this pole axe to swap places with the target and roll the black die. I deal 1 physical damage for each shield rolled, and then they need to do a force 8 check plus the difference of the hit. Cool. Shadowmar. So now Gore Shot equals 4, 1 damage to self, but exhaust Apocryphal Antiquity to get that 1 HP back. And Gore Shot 2 more times for 4 each time, and exhaust the Blood Ring to go those 2 HP back. Scary.
Yep.
Yeah, synergies are cool. I love when things like this happen.
So, and the cool synergy here is you have the exhaust. The follow-up is the swap.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the exhaust with the Sambato.
So for the Zambato, I have an option of 2 things to exhaust. The first one is when making an attack, you deal additional damage equal to the difference by which you hit. Or, after resolving an attack you made, make a melee attack against a different target.
So if the target you attack is closer to the other enemies, you
Yes.
can swap with them and then attack.
That's pretty cool. I do like that. We were discussing with the iconography on the bottom how it doesn't stack. So if I'm going to use these 2 in a combo, I'm going to choose the 2 shields. Every 2 shields will give me +3 physical damage. And you see these are the same H-stars +2 physical damage. Because this icon here has the black die, that means that it has to empower.
Yes. So other thing to notice is Zambato is a heavy weapon, so you're going to lose a -1 speed.
Movement?
Mm-hmm. 1 movement.
So then it takes my movement back down to 6?
Yeah.
That's poopy.
I updated Zeke's wrong stats. He should have 6 movement, not 11 movement.
I see. You said 11, and I asked you, and you were like 11 defense. Okay. So those are my 2 new items. I stole the quiver because I hate it. So I wasn't going to do ranged. Zeke. What do we do with Zeke?
Zeke got physically perfected.
Oh, jeez Louise. So Zeke was the other one who got a skill.
It's all that smoking.
Zeke is also in the martial tree. You can tell by the blue here. This is add X health, where X is equal to your highest level martial discipline. So this is level 2, so it's going to get +2 health.
So Zeke's at 16 health now.
So weird. If you exhaust this card, for every star, you get to follow up and gain 1 SP, which is good for him. It'll allow him to do more stuff. What other weapons? Now he got 2 new weapons because he sold the swords. He had 2 swords. So he sold them both and upgraded kind of his stuff. So Zeke has the Assassin's Punch Dagger and the Ocean Cleaver. The Ocean Cleaver is going to give the same ability he had last time, which was move 1 space diagonally upon exhaust. Also, he can exhaust when the combo with light. So this is a light, so he gets this. So is this an either or, even though it's in 2 different things?
Yep.
If he wants to exhaust this card, instead of using it to move 1 space diagonally, he can re-roll one of the combat dice that he did. So he's got Finesse, which it gives him a teal attack die. So that makes this is teal die. Right, this is a teal here, and this is a teal here. Passive. For each adjacent opponent, your attack gains +1 physical damage. This effect cannot stack. So Zeke is going to want to be in the thick of things. He's also got the Punch Dagger. +2 armor piercing.
You punch him in the butt.
So weird.
There's no armor in the butt.
And he's got backstab. Josh, what's backstab?
So backstab is when you're flanking. Instead of +1 to your roll and +3 damage, it is +3 to your roll and +5 damage. And Zeke also has an ability when he is flanking, he ignores armor.
Yeah, that's really good. When making an empowered attack, he can exhaust his Punch Dagger. So when making an empowered attack while flanking, he may re-roll the black die. Oh, that's cool. What? Because he would have to, he'd have to empower the attack and spend the additional SP, but that's fine because you got the ability where he's getting the SP. Okay. Additionally, and both, Josh, you as Rook and Fake Matt, Zeke, which is also you, got the aligning machine. So you upgraded your ability core and to the aligning machine, which is going to give you +2 defense. Yep. You can exhaust for one of 2 options. It's rare to re-roll the empower. Yes, it's rare to re-roll the empower.
So the ability core was what we previously had, which had exhaust for counter.
So now you're still getting the exhaust in order to encounter, but
and we
the
also
other
get additional defense.
Right, and the alternative here is after resolving an attack you made, if the attack missed the target, you make another attack against the same target, which is really good because either Zeke hits for lots of points, or Zeke really misses. And then, Josh, what else did you get with Rook?
I just got the new sword.
And the upgraded ability core?
Yeah, and the align machine we just talked about.
So, the passive, this is a one-handed sword, because you have the special shield from last game. Yeah. If you do not have the heavy tag,
I don't.
This weapon gains +1 armor.
Yeah, so I have 3 armor now.
When you defeat an opponent, add 1 damage token.
Defeat? When I take their feet?
The smell of defeat. 1 damage token as an ability token to this card. When dealing damage, these tokens may be spent to add +1 damage of the same type to your target. You can exhaust this sword. This counter may be used even if you are dealt damage by the attack to counter. So that's one of your favorite things to do. And that weapon has a teal die. I wish my arms were a little longer. Defeat all the enemies. Start a collection. Ew, that's gross. So we did all shopping phase. We're kind of brokerific at this point in time. And we have the options to either explore or venture forth. What time is it?
It is 10:25. I don't know if we want to read the story for the side quest that we can do.
Wait, maybe read the story.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the option no limit to those defeat counters. Yeah, no. So that was an interesting point.
I don't know if they go between encounters or between.
But there's no limit.
Stores.
I mean, so for my particular ability core, it specifically lists limit 3, but there was no limit.
So I could kill like 50 sickles and then cave sickles and then be like, bam, to the boss. Be like, here's an extra 50 damage from all the cave sickles I killed.
I don't know if you're going to have that many cave sickles, but yeah,
sometimes there's a lot of them spawn.
Sometimes.
So what's the side quest? Because we're not doing the bounty. We could do the bounty, but we're going to do the side quest first.
So there's 2 explore options. As a group, choose one of the following and then proceed to its listed page. You may not choose a side quest you've already attempted this adventure. If you have no side quest, you can choose, or if you decide you don't want to explore a side quest, continue to venture forth. But we do all the things and murder all the things. So we're definitely doing side quests. Side quests, Malik's mission, page 82, or attempt a 1 or 2 skull bounty. See page 13 of the rulebook, but I think that ours only comes with a...
Comes with a 2 skull.
With a 2 skull.
We could do it now, but...
Side quest first.
Side quest first, so we get more money, more loot.
Okay.
And you're reading this all by yourself. I don't have copies of this, so you're gonna have to do all the voices.
Mia. Remi hurried across the street, heedless of the traffic. It wasn't like there were any cars to worry about. She found her father's steward waving frantically to her from a shaded pavilion. She didn't look any different than Remi remembered, though the house color she wore today had a slightly different cut. But Remi couldn't help but notice how right Zeke was about her outfits. Has my father found anything about Theodosian yet? Remi asked, running her eyes up and down the ensemble. The woman beckoned with one hand, retreating back a few steps into a nearby alley, and Remi followed, which means it's super secret. Unfortunately not, young mistress, Mia muttered, thrusting a thick letter toward her. Master Malik told me to give this to you. He said that while he's diverted resources towards finding out more about Theodosian, he will require your help with a few minor responsibilities. Sure. Remi took the letter, turning it over once in her hand. Her father's seal was set into the black wax there, still warm. Tell him I'll do anything he needs if it means he'll just help Nightingale. The steward bowed and retreated without a word, just as her friends made it into the alley. What was that about? Nightingale asked, looking between Remi and the letter. Is that about Theodosian? I wish. Remi slipped her fingers under the seal, snapping it and flicking the letter open. She skimmed quickly over the brief note inside, then glanced back at all the successive sheets. They were shipping manifests. What is it? Rook sounded almost as though he was forcing himself to sound casual. Something more important than Nightingale's infection? Not even close. She folded the letter up again. My dad says he needs my help so he can get that information for us. He wants us to check on a caravan that never arrived. The letter mentions getting the town guard to go look for it. Remi kept scanning the shipping manifests. It's supposed to be right outside of town, though. I think we'd better off just going to take a look for the caravan ourselves. Who knows? It could be exciting. Her feigned excitement never reached her eyes. Is that really why you want to do it? Nightingale asked. No, Remi admitted, but I'd rather not let my dad down. You guys don't have to help if you don't want to. I didn't say that, Nightingale hugged her, albeit briefly. If it's important to the Remster, it's important to us. Right, guys? She's so lame. So cheesy. Remi cocked an eye at yet another strange moniker, but didn't say
What do you think Nightingale was in, like, real life? Like
anything.
A cheerleader?
Yeah.
Sorority girl?
I don't know. Something along those lines. I don't know. Remi cocked an eye at yet another strange moniker, but didn't say anything. Sure, Zeke said. So long as it's legal, Rook agreed. It is legal, right? That's what it sounds like.
Boy Scout.
On my honor. Probably. Remi shrugged one shoulder. I mean, it's a letter about a missing caravan. Nightingale bounced back toward the exit of the alley. Legal enough for me. Lego. She's a party girl. That's definitely who she was. She's a party girl. As the yeah. I've partied with her. Nightingale bounced back towards the exit of the alley. Oh, legal enough for me. Lego. As the group neared the site of the missing caravan, it became more and more apparent that something awful must have happened recently. Maybe we should have got the guards, Rook said, surveying the chaos of the scene before them. It looked as if an explosion had destroyed the caravan. It was phased grasped by a
Matt farted on it.
Guards? Are you kidding me? We don't need a goddamn guard. We have the Rook factor. Oh yeah, she's definitely a part.
She said Rook factor?
Yeah, it's the Rook factor. That's guards? Are you kidding me? We don't need a goddamn guard. We got the Rook factor. She with the hand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could feel it. Nightingale looked toward Rook with a bright smile. Very convincing. Look at this face. Screams convincing. He only sighed. You didn't even need to highlight your lines, Joshua. Nope. Monsters! Nightingale yelled, her tail twitching in excitement as she pulled her weapon to the ready and prepared herself to fight.
Prepare for battle.
Get over here. Continued to bungled caper. That's my life story. Page 83. I didn't know we were going to read about my life. Surprises for everybody. So that is the end of... Why? What? Tell me what to do with my life. The scene of the attack is complete chaos. It looks like Joshua's house, which is now under construction, and dust is everywhere. It says it right there in the book. Okay. A once extravagant home is scattered with dust before you.
See?
It looks as if the wagon was torn. It looks as if his kitchen was torn to shreds, destroyed by a blast of some sort. There are a fair amount of monsters among the wreckage, named Freya and Puck and Lucifer. But it's obvious that it wasn't just monsters that did this. It looks as if the caravan was blown to pieces. Chests and goods were thrown in all directions. The ones that landed in water look intact, but the current threatens to pull them over the edge of the cliff. Far to the north, perched upon a perilous ledge, a bladed weapon sticks out of the dirt. The ground it is driven into looks like it may give way, but even from here, you can see the blade's fine craftsmanship. Brown chicken, brown cow. I want the fine craftsmanship.
You probably are going to be the one to go over there, fly over there, because it's dangerous terrain.
Okay. Although, I don't know if I need a sword. Doesn't matter. I want it anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, fine folks at home, all the bling. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for Twitch Plays Middara. We didn't get to a map tonight, but we did a lot of the really great story that this book and this campaign is known for, is the story and the world behind the game. We got to do our shop phase, check out some really cool new gear, discuss some strategy, and discuss some synergies. And I'm really happy that all of you are here playing this game with us. Thank you so much for being a wonderful community. Without further ado, we can run through our upcoming schedule real quick. If you want some more action, make sure that you join us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where Josh and Matt
do Twitch Plays Kingdom Death, and we're doing a one-shot tomorrow. We're doing the Vignette of Death, White Giga Lion.
Is it the painted stuff?
The monsters painted. The people aren't painted.
Oh, what are the people for?
Because there's like custom layouts and like there's custom people for it.
Oh. Who are... No. But that wasn't what I meant. Who's the link for?
Who's the what for?
The link mini for.
Oh, that's like a promo mini.
It was cute.
Fen was very cool, and he had a couple promos that he like wanted to paint again. And he's like, if you have these that are not painted, I will swap with you.
Aww.
So I did a swap.
Ah, it's so cute. And then you can join us again on Wednesday, where...
we will be doing our spotlight of Ringmaster by Ultra Pro.
Very, very cool. On that note, we want to thank Ultra Pro for sponsoring this show and all this week's show. Big shout out to them. Really excited to play Ringmaster by Ultra Pro by Justin Gary, and that is like a game that I got to interview him about at Origins and talk about how he was kind of branching out from the Ascension feel of a game. So I'm excited to see him get his hands into something a little bit different. Speaking of interviews and seeing people, we have just booked some stuff for us to get up to PAX Unplugged. So if you want us to touch base with anybody, any vendors or personalities or whomever, or want to come swing by and see us at PAX Unplugged, make sure that you reach out to us on one of our social media platforms, which are Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and come follow us in Discord, where?
And reads a little bit now and then, and I told her something happened in Discord. It took her like 20 minutes to figure out where it was because she hasn't been in there that much. Ugh. I can't do the words today. Can't do the words any day.
Or any day. 20 minutes is still a lot less time it took me to set up the code banks for BackerKit than you thought that it was going to take. I thought it was very funny that you took a picture of me bad-mouthing you in Discord and posted it for everybody. It's not a flattering photo either.
I know. I think you look cute in it, but whatever. The picture you sent of me wasn't flattering.
Which picture? I'll have to find it now.
There's a reason why I posted a picture of you, because you posted a picture of me.
Because you're the pout fish. Your whole life. This is the best. I'm so happy. So happy I've drawn that parallel.
You weren't very basic white girl. You with the hair, and you're just so happy in that moment.
I was really happy. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope to see you on another stream this week. And with that, I'm Ann.
I'm Josh.
Signing off. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. More good night. More good night.
Bye. You didn't stop the recorded. Bye, recorded.